March 1995. TLC, Dave Matthews, and Hootie and the Blowfish ruled the airwaves. The nation was captivated by the O.J. Simpson trial. We lost Jerry Garcia, Dean Martin, and Selena, and one Post Malone was preparing to enter the world. Windows 95 was about to be released. Local musician and photographer Buddy Luediker knew something had to give. He contacted longtime friend and fellow musician Brian Brown and suggested forming a retro disco and 80s band. And so were planted the seeds of the Sloppy Joe Band. For the next 26 years, Sloppy Joe Band would play well over 3,000 shows with numerous talented musicians in various venues, states, and social settings, sharing the stage with the likes of Chicago, Eddie Money, Great White, the Bellamy Brothers, Johnny Lee, Clint Black, Tone Loc, and many more. Tonight, we celebrate those 26 years and no sign of stopping anytime soon.
How did you come about finding yourself in the Sloppy Joe Band?
I wasn't told there was going to be a test.
It was whenever Jeremy decided to go off and do Daystar.
Yep. I'm the original bass player.
Well, Brian and I kind of were the impetus of the whole thing. And, you know, we started playing together when I was 14. Brian and I were already playing. Well, I was still in high school. I was gigging.
Red Eye Gravy. It's all their fault. Brian's fault, Jeremy's fault. Yeah.
My brother Johnny called me and asked me would I play, and I had already decided not to play really for a while because I had been playing all my life. But he got me with the horns.
Mark Stanek, who's the drummer, and I used to play in a country band together in Temple. And so we were driving back and forth to gigs, and you know, one night after a few beers, it's like, hey, you know, it'd be fun. 70s and 80s band. That would be a lot of fun. And it's like, I don't think anyone else is doing it. You know, I think it'd be a cool thing. We'd probably get some pretty good crowds. And it's like, so we talked about that a while, and it's like, who would we get to play in the band too? And I said, well, Jeremy Moore for sure, because he's an incredible guitar player, and we had played with him in a couple of bands already. So it's like, yeah, we need to get Jeremy. What's he doing? And Mark said, he's playing with Brian, and they're playing in Red Eye Gravy, which was a duo acoustic show. And what if we get both of them? That'd be even better, because Mark and I both knew Brian, knew he was a great singer. We knew it'd be a lot of fun, and we'd play some cool stuff. So called Brian and said, Mark and I had this idea, what do you think about this? And I think at first Brian was kind of like, yeah, that sucks. Let's still do that.
My name's Jonathan Coots, prisoner number 53342. I met Brian at the Waco Penitentiary.
Brian called me, asked me if I wanted to jam with them, and so he had a gig, I think it was with all the horns and perhaps Bill on guitar. And in usual fashion, the way it was back then, there was no rehearsal. I just kind of showed up and learned the set as we went. And the grooves were amazing, and we just went from there.
It's just having friends, you know, a lot of friends.
Oh gosh, this you know, I didn't really know Brian. I've heard a lot of things about him. He called me up one day, this in the early '90s or somewhere back in there. He said, "Hey Steve, you want to play in the band with me?" And I said, well, hell yeah, I want to play with Sloppy Joe.
I got a text message, Facebook message, phone call, something like that from Brian 5 or 6 years ago, and he knew my wife was pregnant.
Kind of thought I was going to take a break, and Brian was in between bass players, and I was in between bands. I thought I was going to take a break. Brian called me up and said, "Hey man, I need help. I'm the last current member of Sloppy Joe hired."
brick house. Yeah, she mighty, just letting it all hang out. She's a brick house. Like a little step when the dances on. Hey, we'll knock me back, 'cause she's a brick house.
Of all the gigs you played, what's your favorite?
There's no way, man. They were all good, you know, to me. But there were also so many of those in 20 years that I've been playing with them that I can't remember one for the other, you know.
So they all kind of run together?
They kind of run together, yeah. To me, it seems like yesterday that I was playing with these cats, you know, and it wasn't. It was 20 years ago, like almost 20 years ago.
It's hard to say because when you play with Brian, you know, he's a big personality. He's always got, you know, a story, you know.
What's the best gig you've ever played with Sloppy Joe?
There was one evening, like 7 people went to Mahia, and what was the club? Falcon Club? It's a Falcon Club. And we came out of there pretty good to be in Mahia. You know, we had all our teeth still, and like almost a bill. I know if there's Mahia people.
You know what? The very first time we played at Scruffy Murphy's,
Carlos and Charlie's was always fun. I always had a lot of fun playing at that one. And I'm not really big on outdoor gigs too, but that was always a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Didn't involve blood and teeth on the floor. Martini Factory, Burgers and Blues, Scruffy Murphy's, yeah.
I think the Eddie Money show.
There's some weddings that pop into mind. I see Blumenfest in Temple. That was a good one.
It was at the old Hog Creek Ice House, and it was the full horns, and I remember distinctly playing What Is Hip by Tower of Power.
We used to do Kelly's, which was right next door to Chapter 11.
It's hard to narrow that down, but there was New Year's Eve down in Austin when the tear gas went off, and that was just a wild weekend. We were down there 2 nights in a row. We owned Austin at that point in time. It was a great band. And
what gig?
The first one. I was really concerned about. We've only been practicing for a couple of months, learning all new songs, and the place was packed, and the dance floor was full every song. And it's like, this is awesome. This is great, man. This worked out very well.
So what was the opposite side of that? Worst one?
I can't really think of a worst one. They were all pretty good.
man, I don't think there was a worse gig. We got into some fights.
I guess it was Martini Factory. Kelly's before, and then it was Martini Factory. I was sick as a dog.
Loading into the shrine up the street.
Worst song start off was Wonderful Tonight. Not looking at anyone.
Burgers and Blues.
Gosh, I can't remember a bad gig with Brian Brown. I just can't.
Oh, maybe in Austin, where a guy that was like a Abercrombie and Fitch model walked in. He didn't have his shirt on, and I believe my wife and Mike's wife, they were like, "Look at that." So it really had nothing to do with the music. It was that asshole. You know, there's pretty people out there, and for some reason, he nailed it. You know.
It was all shit from the start, you know. We get to the place and there's a bum sleeping on the stage, you know, and it's behind a frat house in Austin, and the whole stage is not just his motel room, it's also his place where he uses the restroom, where he urinates. So there's piss all over the stage. Also, it's the nastiest thing we've ever dealt with.
I can't recall any.
The tavern, man, it was a love-hate relationship with that place, and I can't think of the lady's name that ran it at the time. Martha. I think she hated me the worst because I'd always open the window back here because the smoke was so bad. Yeah. Damn drummer, you know. I left it open one time after a gig, and I was marked for death.
Let's get your dance on this one. It goes a little something like this. I'm
that period of time, the people that you played with, there's got to be some stories. Is there a favorite one you like to tell, or is there, have you got a favorite one you can share with?
There was a belly flopping contest, and all these people were kind of being lame at the beginning, and you know, it's a belly flopping contest, so we get up and do this, and this, in the middle of a song, John gets up and goes, "You motherfuckers get the flopping!" And I think that same gig, they were splashing our equipment, and he kind of conjured this guy up that was splashing the most, and the guy kind of looks at him and he's, he's kind of out of his head. Brian smacks the shit out of him.
And there's a guy, he's already messing with Brian. You know, he's like, "Hey, play some fucking music." You know, he's getting on Brian's nerves. This is in Houston, mind you, I think it's Houston. And there's tons of people there partying, drinking, and right from the start, he's on Brian's nerves, and he's constantly messing with Brian and cussing us, and, you know, play some fucking music. You know, he's hollering, and we start playing. We play a couple of songs, and we're bombing. We're going down. It's getting worse and worse. Pick Up the Pieces was horrible. I really wanted to literally turn my face and just play the other way, but my mic's over here. Well, finally, this guy Brian's messing with the board because he's doing the sound at the same time while he's singing. And Brian's doing the sound, but while he's doing the sound, the guy pushes him from behind. And I'm like, oh shit, we kind of freak out. But at the same, all Brian did, he turns around and I think we were playing Santeria. And he goes, he switches the mic from one hand to another, all while he's singing and dancing, and pow, cold cocks the guy. And that's kind of sad, because we shouldn't be talking about knocking someone out. But in this case, after it happened, the whole crowd cheered us on like we were the best band they ever seen. I'm serious. It was the best night. From then on, I mean, people were tipping us, just loving us. We got gigs off of that, you know, and we had a horrible band. And here's what's funny, the bouncers come and tell Brian, "Man, we're glad you knocked that guy out. He's here every fucking week starting trouble. He's fighting with someone every week." And I stopped the guy, I'm like, "You know what's a shame? That this guy had to drive all the way from Waco to knock his ass out yesterday." He goes, "We should have done that." It was really funny when it all came down. But
this is probably the one that threatened my marriage the most.
Everybody's looking at Brian.
No, it's all on me. Again, all on me. So we played Scruffy's on a Saturday night, and we'd met some Baylor kids. They might have been ladies, I'm not sure. They invited us to a party afterwards. We all go to this apartment, and we're just, just kind of a normal Baylor party. So I leave there about 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'm driving home to Whitney, back on 933. Got my bass amp sitting in my truck. I got the bass amp, my TNT 130 sitting there. I got on old Levi Big Bell Holy jeans from my high school days, and a white t-shirt and a leather vest from a biker friend of mine. I go to sleep. I wake up and I'm plowing down a barbed wire fence. It's just going over the top of my truck. I just crank it back on the road. Well, the amp had flopped over, hit me in the head, cut my eye, cracked over, busted my passenger side window out. I just whipped it back on 933. I'm almost home, man. I run out of gas. So I get out, I'm hiking down the road, I got blood all over me, and this leather vest, Big Bell jeans. Somebody picked me up, took me to the gas station. I went, I had to call my wife about 7:30, 8 o'clock Sunday morning. And she came and picked me up, and that was nearly the end of it, but oh God. She was so pissed off, man. I thought she was gonna kill me.
How long do you think it took for that to kind of blow over?
About a year.
It might have, I don't know. One, we played for my brother's wedding. Johnny Big calling the cops on himself. I wasn't there, you know.
That's fine.
90s maybe? I don't know. 2000s?
Yeah, early 2000s.
I don't know. I was probably in elementary or something. The way I hear is a frat party at UT. They didn't want to be there. It was kind of lame or something. I don't know what led to this, but I guess Johnny Big was ready to go, and so he
called the police and complained about the noise for this particular party, they came and warned them, and the frat guys were like, okay, we'll keep it down, we'll keep it down. And so they went and played a little bit longer, and then Johnny Big calls the cops again when they took a break. Here comes the cops again and shut them down. And man, I guess the band was like, oh, that's messed up, man. And then they were like loading out. This is the way I remember it. Secondhand again. Johnny Big's like, yeah, I called the cops. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. We already got paid. Let's load up and get the hell out of here. Yeah. Which to me is hysterical. Because I've been at those gigs where if I could have done that, I would have done it tip of the hat. Any guys in bands watching this, just put that one in your back pocket. Yeah, probably don't do that a lot.
Yeah, or ever. Yeah, that's right. We've got to advocate. We don't want to ever do that.
Yeah.
That's what we're advocating. We should never do that.
Yeah, don't.
No. No, I mean, again, for me, it was moments, it was time, it was like seconds. It wasn't really, I could tell a million stories.
Not really. No.
No favorite stories, no favorite memories. Just
No.
something you're trying to forget about.
Pretty much, and I almost had until now. There's a lot of bad stuff coming back now.
They're splashing on the equipment, and Brian keeps telling the guys, stop splashing on the equipment, you're messing the equipment up. I don't know where they're at, and Brian tells this story about the guy did it again, and then Brian said, hey, come here. So the guy like wades over to Brian, like we're smiling, like thinking Brian's gonna tell something. Brian slaps the shit out of him and said, I told you to stop splashing on my equipment.
This is Johnny Big and the Locals. Once was a sweet thing, baby. You had my love in your hand, but now I reach to kiss your lips. It just don't mean a thing. And that's a cold shot, baby. Yeah, that's a thing. Dang. And that's a cold shot, baby.
But if you could describe the band, one word.
Fun. Always been fun.
One word.
I would say for me, sustainable.
Badass.
Filthy.
Groovy.
Probably family, I guess. Excellence.
Family.
I would say innovative.
It's easy, man. It's heart.
Fun.
Consistency.
Diversity. It's dudes filled with big hearts and good people, but putting their whole heart into the music. You don't play a tune without going balls, which I found out from the very first gig. It was like balls to the wall, and I was like, well, we're not in Dallas anymore, because it wasn't prim or proper. It was as hard as you could fucking play, as Jesse Fritz would say. Let's go, and it was, you just turned on, you stomped on that gas pedal, baby, and floored it.
All these different lineups and all these different things that we did. It started with a very simple just idea, and it was just not necessarily to do any kind of music or whatever, but just do stuff that people would enjoy.
Again, going back to what I said earlier, I would say every show we played was magic because we insisted it be that way. And you can't get that way with just, we're throwing some musicians together, or we're just even throwing together a good band. You have to have that heart, that soul, that care for each other, as well as the performance.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that name still around here, and it's the most popular band around, beyond Central Texas, I'm glad they keep playing, man. It's awesome.
I was telling these guys a while ago that somebody replied to a Facebook thing of Brian's. He said, "Oh, I saw a picture of us." He said, "Oh, I remember those dudes. I thought y'all were real life rock stars." And then he reposted and said, "Turns out I was right."
Well, badass that's one word. Or great, it's sensational. It's one of my favorite bands I've ever played in. Had such a great time. Good memories.
I've played with maybe 6, 7 different groups of musicians. And sometimes it starts out rough, just like it did with this group of guys. It starts out really rough. But within, a few rehearses and, making us rehearse and doing stuff like that, we always come through. We always come through strong,
We're all getting older, and I'm really happy to be a part of this. And hopefully I can still keep a beat by May 28th. If you're seeing it then, it's today. Yeah, hopefully I can still do that. So, and I'd like to continue to do that with all these guys.
Sloppy Joe has the reputation in town, and everybody knows that if you're in this band, that you have, you earned your spot, and you're playing there for a reason. They're a cut above. They're more than a cut above all the other bands around, and it was an honor and a privilege to get the call, and that's where the bar set. So all these other guys you've interviewed, you've heard from them, and you don't want to be known as the weak link, or like that era or that period or whatever somebody could label you for being subpar.
25 years of consistently good musicians, great music, always. They've been 10 years in a row of Locals Love Us, the best band in Waco. I mean, to do that for 25 years and be consistent with great musicians and great songs, and always changing and always making sure that he's taking care of the fans, that's hard to do. So consistency for me, man. I mean, to be consistent for 25 years it's unheard of. I think Brian, it just shows Brian's leadership and his love for music. So Sloppy Joe, man, it's a legend around here.
We've always strived to not be that blues band or that funk band or that country band or that one-dimensional band. We've always just wanted to be not just diverse, but getting more and more diverse, So when we add a country song, we'll add a rock song. When we add a funk song, we'll add a blues song. We just try to keep that to where people go, I want everybody to go, really? They played that? I mean, we love playing Oak Ridge Boys, Elvira, and then following it up with Highway Star by Deep Purple, Nobody expects that. I mean, Sloppy Joe's, it's never been Brian Brown Band. It's never been Brian into this. It's always been Sloppy Joe, and if you're in the band, that's what we are. We're a unit. Whatever plays it may be, it's a package deal. So I couldn't get up there by myself and go, all right, I'm gonna make all these sounds. It's these cats.
We gonna do this motherfucker or what, man?
Hold on. Oh, okay. Kick it. My truck can see the limit of the beer cans it can hold. I make $4 an hour and I'm 35 years old. When I'm out with all my friends, I act real bold, 'cause I'm a drunk cowboy. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah, I'm drunk, so what's it to ya? If you're fat, I'll screw ya, 'cause I'm a drunk cowboy. I drive a dually pickup, but a horse I cannot ride. I wear some goofy Wranglers that cut way up in the stride. When they canceled hee-haw, I attempted suicide, 'cause I'm a drunk cowboy. Everybody! Glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah, I'm drunk, so what's it to ya? If you're fat, I'll screw ya, 'cause I'm a drunk cowboy. Oh yeah. Very nice. I call the Garth Brooks hotline on my cordless telephone. I start to increase my pants so much they stand up on their own.
Well, I'm gonna tell my Brian story just because I figure somebody has to, because this whole thing, indirectly or directly, is my fault. Because when I first met Brian, I was in a band, unnamed at the time, but it ended up being the Jeff Massengill Project. And it was myself and Jeff Massengill and this buddy of ours, Pete Peterson, who we saw recently. In fact, it was great. And we were playing some shithole and, through some shithole sound system, but we were really happy with ourselves. It was early, like 85, 86, somewhere in there, and just thrilled to be playing. And we got through our first set, and this, very pretty long-haired guy, skinny, still good looking, I don't know, something happened. But anyway, he was gorgeous. I could have fucked him there. But anyway, he comes tugging on my shoulder, he comes tugging on my sleeve, and he goes, "Hey, I'm a singer and, pretty shy, which again, you look far in the future and it's interesting to me, but very shy, and he mentions that he's a singer. I'm like, oh yeah, what kind of stuff? Oh, the stuff like you're playing, I like the stuff. Great. Why don't you get up and jam with us? Because at the time, I think I was singing lead, and at that time, that wasn't doing anybody any favors. I think I've developed my voice decently since, but wasn't a good thing if I was singing lead at the time, especially on Dokken and more Dokken, if I believe. And so. So I was like, hell, well, oh yeah, I know, In My Dreams or something, but I can't get up and sing. I've never sang in front of a crowd before. I was like, okay, no problem. So immediately, like second song, I was like, we've got a new guy coming up to sing with us, and he's like, I think he turned the color of these lights that are flashing in my face. And I was like, no, come on up, and I hauled Brian on stage. It was Brian, and he belted out a phenomenal version of In My Dreams by Dokken, and immediately we gathered around and said, okay, well, you're singing the rest of the night. And he's like shaking and paralyzed. No, I was like, and the crowd's going crazy. And by the end of the show, he's like, it's like Don Dokken can go ahead and retire and he's going to join the band because he had all the swagger and the moves, and somehow he showed up in street clothes, but halfway through the set, he's in a white blazer. I don't know how it happened, but the long and short of it is whether he admits it or not, he would have eventually sang, he would have eventually been in bands, I'm sure of it, but instead, he immediately was in a band, immediately had that confidence, and then immediately was around yours truly to guide him to the place of nirvana that we are at right now. So, indirectly or directly, Sloppy Joe, you're welcome.
Joe, is there anything you just want to add?
I think I've said enough, really.
That's a great